Brianna?
We are.
All set.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. So do we have any additions or changes to the agenda? This is a conservation meeting for January 24th, 2022. I'm going to read this governor's proclamation for the how many times? On June 16th, 2021, Governor Baker signed into law an act extending the certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of the emergency. This act includes an extension until April 1st of 2022 of the remote meeting provision of his March 12th, 2020 executive order superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded in the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. Okay, so did anybody want to add or change anything on our agenda this evening?
I don't have anything, Frank.
So I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Wait for a second. That was Penny for
Second.
the motion.
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
I assume, is Doug not on tonight, correct?
Correct.
No, Doug. Jen seconded. Andy's not in tonight either, right? So Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. So we have 39 Arrowwood.
Oh,
Is that Mr. Marabito?
I was looking for Marabito. Oh, no, here's Brad Holmes. Maybe he'll be speaking for the applicant.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Yar here. Wanted to just get in front of the commission quickly. We're going to continue the meeting so that we can provide some more information that Amy forwarded to us last week. I did get a chance to speak with Amy, but since we're on the agenda, I figured it would be a good idea just to brief you on what changes have been made so that hopefully it will go smooth through the process and the next meeting will be more efficient. So as you remember, we have a pool and patio proposal here at 39 Arrowwood Drive. It's within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. And the project has been revised to relocate the proposed pool and associated patio with retaining wall further to the north of the house and further outside of the buffer zone. So that about, I don't know, half of the project or so is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, and we're about 80 feet away from the BVW. The retaining wall that was proposed along the rear of the yard has been removed so that all that's occurring in the backyard is an additional pervious patio with steps leading up to a retaining wall for the proposed pool, as you see to the top of the house there. So we will be working with Amy, and I know there was some coordination that she had with the building department on getting some additional detail on how the retaining wall will be constructed and some more engineering information. So we're going to work on that in between now and the next time we meet with the commission. But my thought was, again, to present it. I think the commission would be happy to see that we're moving as far away as we can towards the outside of the buffer zone and eliminated the retaining wall in the backyard. So as I said, I'll ask for a continuance, but if you have any comments that you'd like to see us address in between now and the next time we're there, please let me know and I'll work on it.
Okay, why don't we get you some comment now, Brett, so that say anything. Richard, do you want to add anything to this?
Not really. I just want to make sure I understand the retaining wall in the backyard's being eliminated, but you still got a retaining wall on the backside of the pool, correct?
Correct. We proposing a retaining wall along the length of the backyard mainly. Kind of ran parallel to the house. That has been removed so that the only retaining wall is associated with the pool.
Okay,
Uh,
that's some progress. Well, that's all I've got for now, Frank.
Okay. Penny?
No, just waiting for the information Amy asked me for. Thank you.
Jen?
Yep, I'm good.
Brendan?
I have no questions.
Amy, could just, is this before the ZBA as well?
Yes.
Is this the one?
Yes, it is. And so one of the things that I was hoping, well, which was communicated actually via email to the applicant, but also just we could reiterate that, this is a positive change that they've made. And I would say that, they should definitely move forward with going to get the additional detail and then back to the ZBA to see if a variance can be granted for the zoning regulation that prohibits this type of disturbance on these slopes in the Water Resource Protection District. Because I think that that's important, but I think it's moving in the right direction, and it looks like you should be able to go with orders on this once we receive additional detail.
Okay.
Okay. When do we want to continue it to, Amy?
Before that, do we have anybody in the audience, as long as we have this open? Is there
Yeah.
anybody that wants to speak to this?
No.
Okay. Brad or Amy, how much time do you think we need?
I had written down March 7th.
Is that okay, Brad, with you?
I'm not sure what the zoning hearings meet, but if it would be possible to meet the second week, the second meeting of February, and then that would be helpful because I think we have the design done. We just need to get more detail to it. If it's possible, the second meeting would be great in February. If not, then we'll go with whatever you have available.
It's the last day in February anyways. Do we have much
Yeah,
on
and
the?
the next meeting is the following week. We have 2 meetings in a row. So,
Right, this is the 28th, and then we're gonna meet again on the 7th.
Frank, does it have to clear ZBA before us or we go before them?
It should clear.
I think
to
they're
clear
looking for
all other
direction.
permitting agencies before it comes back.
The ZBA has asked us to get through conservation first before we go back to them because we're kind of in that catch-22 scenario.
Okay,
Right, there was a letter from the chairperson of the ZBA on this one,
Mhm.
wondering what our issues were and could we move forward. So I don't want to leave someone in that clutch. What-
Why I think that it's important that we've now shown the ZBA that is something that we, would have less concern about and can probably condition with additional information, which should be good enough for the applicant to go back to the ZBA and see if they can overcome the variance that is required.
Okay. Well, do we have a lot on for the 28th, just to hopefully move, this has been out there for a bit. And looks like they made pretty good changes. Do we have a lot on for the 28th yet?
Yeah.
I had written it down as the 7th. But I mean, if you want to put on the 28th, that's somebody that's not going to get to go on the 28th, but that's fine.
Well, this one's been out there for a while, so.
So I'll make a motion that we continue 39
Oh,
Arrow.
hold on a second.
Ah,
We do have a hand up here somewhere. Oh, I think you gotta press the button.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't let me unmute myself. I have to request it and then you have to do it. So I was waiting.
Okay, so you want to
Tara,
state
be
your
quick,
name?
please.
Yeah, we just wanted to know because Anthony Bucari from ZBA had specifically requested we get approval from the commission before going back to ZBA. Would we be able to get anything from the commission in writing that we could forward the ZBA before we go back to them again and then they send us back?
I've already sent it.
Okay,
In the email I sent to Brad. That
okay,
should be fine, Tara.
okay. All right. Thank you, Amy.
All right. Okay. So we have Penny, you have a motion to continue to the 28th.
Yes, I make a motion that we continue 39 Arrowwood to February 28th.
Okay, do I have a second
I'll second it.
from Richard?
Yep.
All in favor? Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
2 other ones, yeah.
208 Chief Justice Cushing. Somebody from Morse Engineering?
Anybody there?
Yeah, I have Greg Morse and also Peter Palmieri on the call.
Oh, good.
Just got unmuted. Good evening, this is Greg.
Hi, Craig.
Good evening. You want to start, Greg?
Sure. This is a continued public hearing for 208 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. To refresh your memory, my applicant, Sean Pacheco, is the property owner here. He had began construction on his single-family home last year. This year, we made application, however, for a detached boathouse. It's approximately 20 feet by 30 feet. It's located inside the buffer zone, which prompted us to file a notice of intent. The wetland resource areas out here, you had us retain Sabatia, Bob Gray, to go out on behalf of the Conservation Commission and review the wetlands. I believe Bob Gray is in agreement with the wetlands that we delineated on the site, which consisted of a bordering vegetated wetland, which is in blue, the riverfront area, which is the purple line. We're outside of the riverfront area with the boathouse, and then the FEMA flood zone, which traverses the site as well. Addition of this boathouse also put the project into a stormwater bylaw requirement. The home construction was exempt from the bylaw because the home itself disturbed less than 15,000 square feet of land. However, when we added in the boathouse, it put us over that 15,000 square foot threshold. Mr. Pacheco, when he built the house, had already installed, even though he wasn't subjected to the stormwater bylaw, he installed significant roof dry well systems to infiltrate the roof runoff. We would add that this site would not be subject to rate and volume control as it discharges to land subject to coastal storm flowage anyways. The soil out here is sandy. You had us retain Merrill Associates on your behalf to conduct a stormwater review. I believe Mr. Palmieri has reviewed everything out there and agrees that what we've done is appropriate for the site. I'd turn it over to you for questions or comments. I'd add, we also have a letter from the abutter, Donahue, the direct abutter, which is the house on the right-hand side of the screen here, in favor of the project, stating that Mr. Pacheco has done a good job to date with his home construction and they have no concerns about drainage here.
Hi, Frank. So, Peter Palmieri is going to be on the call because a lot of what we're talking about is actually related to the stormwater bylaw and meeting that. So I don't see him on the call right now unless he's a phone number. Peter, can you somehow identify yourself? Otherwise, I'm not sure if we should come back to this, but there were outstanding concerns relating to TSS removal and the entire site as it stands as a conglomerate, or I don't know, as an aggregate, I guess you could say, but I was hoping that Peter was going to speak, but I don't see him on. So maybe you should go through the commission. Oh, nope, here. And
Have you got them? Amy, we have Gilson Road and then it looks like Greg's back on again for Zero Ridge Hill. So do we want to do Gilson Road,
Yeah, that sounds good.
Greg, and then we'll just circle back?
That's fine.
Well,
Yep.
wait a minute. Now there's a hand raised, so hold on.
Joan Wyckoff?
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
You've got a Peter with his hand raised as well.
Okay, we're gonna go to Peter with his hand raised.
Right. That's what I was going to tell you. He's there.
Great.
Thank you. I was trying to get your attention. Peter Palmieri from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. As Greg has indicated, we did do the stormwater review for the project. As far as the post-development, pre-development, and recharge requirements, we're satisfied with the design as was presented. We did have a question, though, relative to total suspended solids. Since this project, with the addition of the boathouse, exceeds the threshold for the stormwater bylaw, we feel that the applicant should be addressing the TSS removal. Greg had indicated in an email that they feel that there's a depression on the site, which I'm not sure exactly where it is, will perform this function. Maybe he could address that a little further. I do think if the commission believes that both the single family house and the boathouse are one project, then the TSS should be addressed in some method or presented on the plan as something that the commission members can digest.
Go flip back to Greg.
Sure, I'm glad to speak to that.
Thank you, Peter.
We looked at this as two separate projects. We already have the building well under construction, including all of the site work associated with the building. The lot's been graded. The roof dry wells have been installed. The septic system's been installed. All utilities have been installed. The site is short loam and seed at this point. But other than that, the site is predominantly done associated with the house. The house did not require any review under the stormwater bylaw because it was under the thresholds. So when we made the application for the boathouse, that puts us over the thresholds. We look at the boathouse as being the trigger, and that should be the subject of the stormwater bylaw. I'd note several other sites in town, for example, the golf course that was recently done with the parking lot. You might have provided TSS removal associated with the parking lot, but you did not make the entire site compliant with the bylaw. Same goes for the senior center, for example. We didn't look at the entire Gates community over there, the old Gates, and make the entire site come into TSS compliance, but you did it with the new part that was in front of you. In this case here, the part that's in front of you is the boathouse. That's what's required. TSS is not that big of a concern in a residential application. Off of a residential driveway, what are we talking about for TSS? There might be a little bit of sand if someone puts sand on their driveway associated with de-icing in the winter. But other than that, there's really not a lot of pollutant load or anything we would be concerned about with TSS removal on a residential driveway. This site here, if you look at where the driveway drains to the front of the lot. The front of the lot, there's a natural depression along the edge of Route 3A where it was built up. You'll see that there's the existing driveway that comes in at the bottom left corner of this lot. Just to the right of that existing driveway is where a natural depression exists. So if there was any sort of suspended solids coming off of this driveway in any amount, it would be trapped within the natural vegetation. It would utilize the natural vegetation out there. I didn't see TSS as a big issue on this application, nor do I think that that should be the subject of the review. I think we're here specifically for the boathouse. which doesn't propose any impervious surface that would have TSS whatsoever. It's a gravel driveway for the boathouse, and it's a roof, which is considered clean runoff. I did email the conservation agent asking if there were any outstanding issues and asking this very question on January 7th. I was surprised that it came up tonight. I did not receive a response. I was not anticipating this being an issue this evening.
So Peter, with that being a gravel driveway,
The boathouse driveway
For
is
the
a gravel
boathouse.
driveway. The
yes,
driveway for the house will be paved.
right, but the,
It's going towards the road.
so there's two accesses to this. Am I right that the boathouse will be accessed through that common driveway, Greg?
Yes, so there are two accesses onto this property. The access that you see at the bottom left of the screen, that's an access to the Air household out behind us, as well as our proposed house or our proposed driveway here. The second driveway, which is at the right corner of this lot, provides access to the Donahue house, and then the new house at the end of the street, which was just, I think, raised recently. Our primary access is going to be off the driveway to the left for the house. The boathouse, however, access is on the driveway to the right.
Okay. Richard, any thoughts or questions?
Well, I'm certainly not the best engineering expert on all of this, but I think for my thinking, if it's to be treated as a separate entity unto itself, I'm not really that concerned about, and I thought Greg described pretty well what he thinks of the requirement for TSS. I'm reasonably okay with it.
Penny?
Yeah, because the way I look at it, when I drive by that site, the street is quite a bit lower, and I don't see any runoff going near the marsh. I see it coming towards the street, and there is that, depression in the front. So I don't have a problem, but I do have a question, Greg. I cannot remember. Is that boathouse, that's not a foundation, right?
It's a slab foundation. There's no cellar
It's a
under it.
slab.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish that it wasn't, but all right. Moving on, Frank.
Okay. Jen?
Yeah, I think I would echo largely Richard's sentiments. I guess my question kind of is, there's been other times we've had projects that have been filed closely to one another on the same site, and we've tried to, or there's been some question around whether or not it all kind of becomes one project. I'm not explaining it super well, but I guess I'm wondering, Amy, if you can help me understand why these wouldn't be considered one project, whereas other times we have made them one.
Because you're looking at the entire area of disturbance for the site,
Yeah,
and so the site is the property. I mean, they backed their way into the stormwater applicability with area of disturbance. And so that's why it's important that they meet the intent of the stormwater bylaw. I mean, and as far as TSS goes, Peter and I were talking about the depression, where I'm still not sure if Greg answered it. But is the TSS, is the depression is that gonna help with that on that part of the site? See, I don't think he did, because he's only addressing the boathouse, but if it is, I mean, maybe you can condition that depression by the side of the driveway stay. That might be one way to handle it, but I don't know that, I think that this is a little bit technical and probably should be mostly sidebar between the engineers, but I can also see that it's a single family residence and we shouldn't be spending an abnormally a lot amount of time on it. So hope that it helps.
Amy,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
possibly one, first of all, I guess the question is whether the commission's going to view this as one, both the boathouse and the house as one project. If they are, TSS should be addressed. One way to address that could be that possibly some language could be submitted, maybe even an easement that would protect that depression so that it wasn't filled in and would continue to provide the TSS removal Greg had indicated it was going to provide.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Peter. Brendan?
Yeah, I guess it feels like a gray area, but I guess I'm okay with this. Like what Richard said
Okay.
and whatnot.
Couldn't we, I'm sorry, Frank, could we, as Peter just said, couldn't we make it a condition regardless that the depression has to stay?
I think so. Before we try to solve the problem, I thought we'd hear from everybody. That this just seems like it could be a solution. But I just kind of wanted to run around. I've got my thoughts on it, but I'm going to catch everybody the opportunity to speak to it. It's like pennied like another round. Go ahead.
well, yeah, I just really, if the driveway was on the other side, I might be concerned. But to my way of looking at that site, when I go by, any runoff from that driveway is not going to get down to the marsh. It is going to come forward towards 3A. So that's just me. I just don't see it as making it a problem. But, you know, put in the orders. That's great, that the depression will stay. Then it takes care of it, that there will be a place for any runoff to go.
If I may add to that, Greg Morse here.
Yeah.
Along Route 3A at this location, there already is a 50-foot green belt in the Scituate zoning bylaw. We're not allowed to alter the grades
Yeah.
or do any significant vegetation removal. So that depression absolutely will stay. That's already written into the zoning bylaw. That's why our limit of clearing is shown where it is. That depression will take all the TSS of 3A in addition to this site. There's no TSS coming off of a residential driveway.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
I don't see anybody.
Okay. Greg, I like to hear everybody's argument, and I think if this were a home being built or remodeled rather, and we were skirting on the threshold of substantial improvements and requiring to bring the whole house up to code, and we stayed just under that, and then came back to the building inspector with an additional addition, the building inspector would tell us that we had to bring it to code. And I think that's how I would look at this project, that first off, it's under construction, and I give it's another piece that they added on, but I do think it needs to be treated as a whole. I don't think you can really come back with something like that. That said, I understand the frustration with some of the regulations when it seems like it's overkill or it adds too much to the project for a project that could handle its own issues. And we've had that happen several times and we've talked about this before, a tiny site that doesn't trigger stormwater can be more detrimental than a large site like this one. And I think if Peter feels that that's adequate to handle this, the rest of the site seems like they're doing a good job. I just wonder if it wouldn't, and I understand the piece that you're saying, that they shouldn't be able to alter anything within 50 feet of 3A. But could this be a simple, Amy, is something placed in the orders that's how that works, or some definition from Greg that part
Yeah,
of
well,
that?
so they're going to be getting a stormwater permit as part of this, or these orders
Yes.
triggered the stormwater bylaw, right? So it's
Yep.
going to act also as a stormwater permit, which will be recorded under the deed of the property. And yeah, we can condition it. Absolutely.
Okay. And Peter, I appreciate your thoroughness in looking at this as well for the commission. So
Welcome.
I think I would agree with you. But I think if we can move this along, it seems like we're kind of splitting some hairs a little bit. So anything else? Anybody have anything else to add?
I'll make a motion.
So Penny, Amy, are we good to close this, do you think, with those pieces in place?
I think I understand everything. So yeah, well, I think you should.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to close.
that's Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Greg. 11 Gilson Road. This
I've
is
got
the-
Jed Hannon that I'm going to
Yep.
put on.
He just had to come back with some stuff, right?
Yes.
Good evening, Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering.
Hey, Jed.
Hi, Frank.
Uh,
Good evening,
hi. Good
commission
evening.
members.
Good evening.
Hi,
Hello
Jed.
there.
Okay, so if you recall, back in December, this is 11 Gilson Road. We had a few issues on the plans we needed to address. This project, just to refresh your memory, it's for a proposed addition, 28 by 14 foot, along the deck in the rear, 28 by 18 with a staircase. There is no ZBA thresholds that we need to, sorry about that, that we need to address. It's compliant with ZBA setbacks. The proposed foundation has flood vents in accordance with FEMA requirements. The downspouts will discharge below grade with 3/4 inch stone detail. We addressed the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer concern that you folks had, as well as the lot coverage percentage.
Mhm.
If you look at the deck in proximity to the 50-foot buffer, one of the corners of the deck is about 40 feet from the BVW and the other is about 48 feet. If the commission's amenable to it as is, there's sonotubes proposed, but if it sounds more amenable, sorry about that, shut that off. If it sounds more amenable, we can do helicals in order to eliminate any, excavation. And I'm sure you folks are familiar with that. It's basically like an auger bit that gets torqued into the soil below and has a very strong axial capacity. So at this point, I think we addressed all the questions, comments, and concerns that you folks brought up, and be happy to answer any more questions you might have.
Okay. Amy, do you want to comment on any of this first? We go to the members.
Well, sure. The big thing that happened was they tied flags on the site.
Yep.
They're on the plan. So now you can see the closest distance
Mhm.
to the deck, which is proposed under this notice of intent, is 40 feet. it's by footings, but it's also my understanding that because of construction costs, there's good chance that this project's not gonna happen. But I think you're good to close.
Yeah.
Unless you want to see some improvements, given the encroachment into that 50-foot buffer, although it is on pre-existing lawn. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, Jen, do you have any questions, comments?
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute. I am always in favor of plantings for encroachment. So if there was something that happened there, that would be great from my perspective. But otherwise, I'm good.
Okay, that's a good point. Brendan?
No, I don't have anything additional.
Penny?
Nope, I'm happy to see the plan with everything on it so we can see and understand it better. No, I think it's good to go.
Okay, Richard?
What Jen said, otherwise I'm fine.
It's all grass.
Is there anybody in the audience for this one?
Being none, Frank.
So, Jed, a couple of things. The plan that got submitted the first time, to me, was kind of misleading. The arrows pointed to locations that would have indicated that both the deck and the addition were out of the buffer, which now with these lines on there, we can see that that's not the case. So hopefully in the future, we'll get those things on the first time and save you some time and your clients some time. And then I think it's good with the infiltrators. I'm really not that concerned about using helical piers over sonotubes, whichever is more economical, as long as the area of disturbance is minimal. But I do think that Jen and Richard both requesting some mitigation when we allow someone to construct something inside the buffer zone, that we get some mitigation for that. And there wouldn't be any reason that some plantings couldn't be placed.
Where?
Well, between the lawn and the Phragmites, Penny, I would think.
Okay,
I think that would be a reasonable
Down
request.
yeah, but farther down, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously see that stuff's been altered. I mean, the next door
Sure.
neighbor, the Phragmites come off at a 45-degree angle and partway up the property line, and just on the other side of the fence, I'm assuming the lawn goes to the fence. So it also, Jed, could be that maybe some of the Phragmites were removed as part of the mitigation. I mean, we're not in love with those. If they wanted to cut some of that, they'd have to give us some sort of plan or something about removal of the Phragmites, which a lot of people like to do, to keep them from encroaching their backyard. The problem with doing plantings up along the Phragmites is then eventually the Phragmites just move in. So I'm just kind of not quite sure. Who delineated the wetland for you, Jed?
Brad Holmes.
I'm wondering if Brad could come up. I'm not opposed to closing this with something for mitigation, but something that maybe you and Brad could work out that the commission could approve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the feedback. And that stuff, we've done that with Brad in the past, come up with a mitigation plan for plantings due to disturbance in the BVW area. So yeah, that would be fine. I can certainly get with him and come up with a plan. If you folks would be open to closing, and we can get that over to Amy.
Did I see somebody with a hand up?
Yeah, Krista Manning's on the line. Oh, it did have her hand up.
Can we get Krista? Good evening.
Good evening. I was going to comment that I've tried to plant things back there and nothing will grow because it's all water.
Just for the record, Krista, so you're the property owner?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Oh,
I was going to make the comment, obviously, I'm not an ecological expert, but I have tried to plant things back there besides the phragmites and nothing will grow.
Well, I think Brad, we've had a few projects where Brad has been involved, and I know he's doing one over on off of Hadley Road now, but he'd got some ideas on how you can keep those at least cut back. There's a process to do that and not spread the phragmites around. And it's not very costly, but keeping them at bay and then doing some plantings that would create habitat or whatever. I mean, I realize this is pretty much an altered area and the distance is not huge, but typically when we allow folks to work within the buffer, we look for some sort of mitigation. And I would think that Brad and Jed could come up with a simple plan for that we could approve. Amy, are you comfortable closing this with an order that we come up with a mitigation plan?
Sure. I was gonna say maybe they should stop at the BVW line and let it go natural beyond that edge of BVW. And I mean, and as far as like the phragmites go, you do have to work to control it.
Mhm.
Ironically, would be cutting and treating it. So those two kind of go against each other, you know what I mean? But so, yeah, maybe you're right, a mitigation plan or some kind of plan to deal with this challenging area from the professional wetland scientist would be a condition that you could make.
Well, you've kind of heard how the gauntlet of this. So obviously, whatever you come up with Brad is going to have to come to the commission, and the commission, you'll have to accept what the commission approves, or you can continue, come up with a plan, and then we can incorporate that into the orders. So I don't know if there's an urgency to close. If you want to do that, that's fine, but then we'll have to see what Brad submits, Jed, or we continue this until you guys have a plan.
Sure, understood. So, this is fairly common to provide, mitigation. Brad does this on a regular basis, and we work with him on this on other projects. So yeah, it's definitely something we could put together that you folks have seen before you on other projects, and we'd prefer to close tonight, subject to receiving a acceptable, offsetting mitigation plan for plantings and or phragmites mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you.
right.
So it'd be closing and with a condition for the plan that we just talked about, but that plan would go back to a meeting for your approval.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Penny?
Yeah, just to let Jeb know, to tell Brad, I believe you're speaking of the Hadley Road, phragmites.
I
Just
was.
around from you.
Yep.
Yeah, that they're cutting back. They just keep cutting and cutting. But talk to Brad, because he did come up with a good plan there, and it isn't a fortune. Okay, Jed?
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, somewhere between all this, there's been mention of letting things become natural up to the BVW. There's cutting of the Phragmites, there's some planting, so the commission's gonna have to approve whatever you put together. I think meeting with Brad and knowing those parameters, you guys could be creative and come up with something that would work for the property owner. All right,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to close.
There's Penny, second.
I'll second it.
Second,
Richard beat you to it, Jen.
Sorry, Jen.
All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
0 Ridge Hill Road?
That's continued. I make a motion to continue
wait.
that.
Wait, wait.
What?
That is gonna get continued to March 7th.
Oh, I have the 28th.
I know you do, but
Okay. I make a motion that we continue 0 Ridge Hill to March 7th.
all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
you made a motion. I needed a second, sorry.
I second that.
Thanks, Brendan. All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Jen,
yep.
Frank, yes. Thank you. 7 Dunbar Lane. And the applicants requested that we continue this until the 28th.
So I'll make a motion. We
Can I be, before we do that?
Yep.
Amy, I know we've gotten lots of input from abutters and there's a lot of concern for this. So the abutters are aware or they'll be made notified that this.
Yeah,
gets-
we'll keep them in the loop. So this one's gonna be February 28th. Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So a motion,
I make a motion. We continue 7 Dunbar to February 28th.
okay, and a second? Don't everybody speak.
Second from Jen.
Thanks, Jen. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Wait, 13 Hawthorne.
Someone's hand was up.
So who was, do we have a,
Greg Davy has his hand up.
Okay,
okay, Greg? Can we let him in?
Who is he?
I'm in a butter,
Greg Davy. Yep.
I'm in a butter at 51st Parish Road to the
Right.
7th property. So the that hearing is being pushed into the middle of a pre-scheduled vacation that's already paid for and we're away. It would be pretty problematic for us to work around that.
Do we have your concern? I know that you've sent information to us, Mr. Davy. Have you? Do we have all your concerns?
I'm not sure you have 100% of my concerns, and I would like the opportunity to be able to participate in the meeting. I mean, I'll break up the, it's a video, so I can break up the vacation, but
Right, well, I mean, all these meetings are still remote.
Remote.
And they're also very fluid, like we haven't received anything or have any movement on this project 7 Dunbar at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets continued to the spring since it's pretty hard to dig holes in the winter.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess, so to that point, to Mr. Davy's point, what's it really gonna hurt for us to push this thing out?
To the 7th?
When are you
Yeah.
back, when are you back from vacation?
The day afterwards. I mean,
Oh.
you just
March.
landed in the middle of it.
All right, so let's just,
Move to March 7th.
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks
I
for your,
can- Okay, thank you.
thank you.
So I'll make a motion to uncontinue 7 Dunbar to February 28th and move it to March 7th.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
Yes. All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
And Frank, yes. Okay. So 13 Hawthorne.
Yeah. Septic.
This is Morse Engineering, so I'll get.
On January 24th, 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Law, and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Brian Henson for work related to septic repair at location at 13 Hawthorne Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to the access of virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. Easy penny. So we have Brian, Morse Engineering, sorry.
This is Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Brian Hessen. This is a septic system repair project located at 13 Hawthorne Road, which is in the Hummerock section of town. The existing home, as you see on the site plan here, it's an existing 4-bedroom home. It's located in the FEMA flood zone at AE elevation 13. For reference, the site varies between elevation in 9 and 10 on the ground. The existing septic system is a series of 2 cesspools located in the backyard. The proposal is to put in a Title V compliant system consisting of a new septic tank, a distribution box, and leaching chambers. The grading over the system where this is proposed right now is currently lawn surface. It would go back as lawn surface. There's really no change in the topography. The existing versus proposed contours remain the same. DEP had no comments on this. I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Brendan? Or Amy, you want to tell us what your thoughts are?
Yes. Okay, so septic improvement, no board, I mean, it has board health approval, no DEP comments, appears to meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate bylaw for the Barrier Beach flood zone.
So Brendan?
Going first, I really want to have a good comment.
This one's a fairly simple one.
Yeah, it was like, oh, no comment. Everyone else said everything great. So, but I have nothing. Thank you.
Oh, it's good to say something like, you could say like, a new septic system's a major improvement and protects the groundwater. So
New septic system's a major improvement. This is great. I'm glad to see it. Thank you.
There you go. Jen, you want to add to that?
Of course. I'm looking at it and I know sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, but do we need erosion control anywhere here? I'm just not sure if I'm seeing it.
I don't think on this, I don't think on this site.
No.
Okay.
Right? Am I
These are
right,
really
Richard?
tight
This is
sites.
really
You're right.
gravel.
You're right. That's fine. There won't be any need at all.
Okay. I'm good.
Unless they overstep their bounds and they're on their
No.
neighbors, and then they need a fence instead of erosion control.
No, there should be enough room to do everything without any problem at all. It's very flat in that area.
There's a
I don't know
fence
why I didn't go to
surrounding the
Richard
site.
first. I mean, he's the expert down there.
Don't know about experts. It's really nice location. It's a nice house and all. So, and it does, this is needed. So it's good.
Okay. And Penny,
All set.
anybody in the audience? I'm good with everything here.
Seeing none,
Take a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close.
Richard, second?
Second.
Second.
Penny get it. I'd say Penny got it. Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
129 Glades Road. So on
Town.
January 24th, 2022, 5:30 PM in the Town Hall, Situate Conservation will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of John Foley for work related to septic repair at location at 129 Glades Road, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information access to virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website. Jen, this isn't any relative, is it?
It is not. I was going to say that. My dad's name is John, and so is my brother, but we are not related.
Okay. All right, so want to move on to that one?
Sure.
Greg?
Yep, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing John Foley. Again, this is a septic system repair project at 129 Glades Road. It's an existing 3-bedroom, single-family home on the lot. The lot itself is relatively small, approximately 3,500 square feet. It's located in a FEMA AE floodplain at elevation 16, while the topography on the site varies from elevation 10 at the back to elevation 12 along Glades Road. The existing septic system is a cesspool, which is immediately behind the house. The proposal here is to install a Title V compliance system consisting of a 1,500-gallon septic tank in the front yard, a distribution box, and then a series of leaching chambers down the side lot line. Turn it over to you for questions or comments. DEP had none.
Okay.
Frank, do you want me to go quick?
Yes, please.
Okay. Concurring with what Mr. Morse just said, essentially, Board of Health is approved the septic system. No DEP comments. Just a couple additional notations. I mean, obviously, it would be a big improvement over a cesspool to have a compliant Title V system, so it's necessary. It looks like this house, had the for sale sign, had it up, so I don't know if it's pending sale or what have you, but something like that. Anyway, so I would note that it doesn't appear that it's elevated currently in accordance with FEMA height guidelines, and it's pretty, the house is pretty much in disrepair. Like it's not, it looks a little bit like it's been weathered. And then to the extent that there's any existing retaining walls, solid walls on that site, that those should be removed. So we could make that a condition.
The solid walls that are on the site are portions of the foundation. They are structurally attached to the foundation of this house.
Yeah, so not talking
So-
about those walls, Greg.
Those cannot be removed, anything under the house there. Those are the only
Right,
walls
yeah.
that you will see out at the site. There are no retaining walls elsewhere on the site. Everything that you see is attached to the foundation and needs to remain.
Okay. Well, Jen, this is your neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, I don't think I have anything to add on it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Brendan?
This is going to be a great upgrade. I'm looking forward to it. I'm all for it. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Yay, Brendan.
Penny?
I'm all set, thanks.
Richard?
There's nothing I can say after Brendan. It's good.
Oh. Anybody in the audience for this?
Thing-
Okay, I'm good.
I make,
Go ahead, Penny.
I make a motion to close.
We have a second.
I second it.
All in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Richard?
Yep.
Frank, yes. Great. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
For Garfield. Let's see.
Oh, I know this house.
On January 24th, 5:30 PM, the Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of 4 Garfield Street Realty Trust for work related to raise and rebuild a single-family dwelling at location of 4 Garfield Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Jen, how come sometimes when we list these addresses, sometimes we say Scituate and sometimes we say Hummerock? Just curious. No comment. Go ahead, Greg.
Great.
I
For the
assume
record,
I'm assuming we're in both, but
You are.
yeah. Gregory Morse, registered engineer, representing Kevin McDonough, the trustee of the 4 Garfield Street Realty Trust. This is a raise and rebuild for a single-family home located at 4 Garfield Street. For reference, Garfield Street's at the top of the page. On the left-hand side of the lot here is the South River. This lot borders directly on the South River. The black bold line represents the property line. This lot is approximately 5,620 square feet. Depicted in the light gray is the outline of the existing home at the site. You'll notice that to the right of the home is an existing septic system. That septic system is relatively new, approximately 5 or 6 years old. The proposal here is to take down the existing home and construct a new one. You'll see that it's largely in the same location. However, we have pulled it back from the river so that the main box is approximately 6 feet further inland than where the existing home sits. The new home would also be elevated up on wood pilings. This site for resource areas is within the riverfront area associated with the tidal river. It's also within the FEMA AE zone at elevation 14. Being in an AE zone, you're required to be a minimum of a foot above floodplain for freeboard. We've proposed our first floor at elevation 15 to provide that FEMA compliance. I'd turn it over to you. The topography here is going to remain unchanged. It's a well-established lawn around the site. The septic system remains. It just gets reconnected to the existing home. Overhead wires and water service just get disconnected temporarily from the existing home and then reconnected to the new home once it's in place. And turn it over to you.
thanks, Greg. Well, Richard, why don't you,
No, yeah, he's right. It's right on the river. I know the house pretty well, actually. I don't know the people, but I know the house. I guess the one question I would have is the house itself now going to be, I understand the footprint's moving slightly, but is it going to be significantly larger? And I might be on here. I just haven't found it.
Sure. So the existing home that's there is 2,000 square. Well, it's 2 stories. This
Yes.
new house will be 2.5 stories. You can see by the horizontal footprint, it's not much larger of a footprint on the ground. The house is a little bit skinnier, but it is a little bit longer. It comes out a little bit closer to Garfield Street in the front. It does have a wraparound porch or deck on 3 sides. You'll see that outline as well. The existing home did not have that deck around the sides of it.
No, it just had a porch in the front of, I believe.
Yeah, just a porch in the front.
Right.
But the footprint of the home itself is generally the same, but it's 2.5 stories instead of 2.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any other issue, and it's probably a good thing to be a little further back from the river because that does come up very high.
Penny,
No.
Jen? This would be a good time for your previous question.
I don't even remember my previous question.
about
Oh,
the-
right. Yes, but some of the pictures online show, which is reflected here in a concrete patio on the plan, but are they leaving that exactly as it is, or are there any plans to adjust that? I don't know how I'm not a builder. I don't know how you demo and build a house directly on a patio.
Yeah, so right along the river itself, there's a retaining wall, and then off of that
Yeah.
retaining wall between that and the existing house is a concrete patio. I think it has some flagstones attached to
Yeah.
it as well. So that would all remain in place. They would simply cut out the locations that the piles are being driven, and then patch the concrete around them. But the intent here is for the patio to stay.
Okay. And no other patios or
Just off
impervious
the
surfaces?
front of the building or the front deck there, we have a set of stairs coming down to the existing walkway at the front of the site. But other than that,
Yeah.
no, nothing else, no other patios.
Okay. And for my question, my original question from one ago was, do we have any erosion or shoot, my gosh, my mind is blanking. Do we have any,
You got it.
You got it.
no,
Erosion
I don't
control.
have it. The word is erosion
Erosion
control barriers.
I didn't have an erosion control barrier in this just because we're not excavating for the foundation. We're driving the piles. If you wanted to put up a construction fence or a silt fence around the property line, we certainly could. I don't think there's going to be any significant erosion issues here, though.
There won't be.
What was that, Richard?
I said, no, there shouldn't be. He's right. There really shouldn't be.
All right, well, you got a
It's at
cosign
the
from
end of a
Richard.
it's at the end of a very short road. There's just, and it's very flat. There really shouldn't be.
All right,
Um,
I'm good.
Brendan? Thanks.
I'm
Brendan?
good, thank you.
Anybody in the audience? It's a couple of things, Greg. I think there should be something, especially if the back of that lot is right up against the coastal beach, whether it's a silt fence, if that's a better way to manage that. But I understand you don't have much of a disturbance with a lawn, but I'm assuming that you got to go in with some kind of excavator or dozer or something and dig out that existing house, right?
Yeah, they'd break up the foundation under it.
Yeah,
So-
and then fill, and then you're gonna be filling that in. So there'll be material disturbed around to do that. So I think at a minimum across the back and then maybe returning up the sides
Okay.
at least 20 feet or something. I know you're not gonna go very far over that septic system. So you don't want to damage that. But and the other side's got the patio, but so then looking at the plan, the existing house had the patio poured right up against the house. Is that right?
Yes, it went right up to the side of the house.
So now you're shrinking the house. So that's going to leave a strip of,
So it would be the foundation that's there, that concrete patio is poured up to, attaches to a retaining wall on the top side of the plan. It attaches to a small retaining wall on the back side as well. So I think where that patio connects to the existing house, you would leave that portion of the existing house to tie that wall in across the site. And then underneath where the foundation is now, you would fill that to the grade that's equal with the grade over the septic system, is what you would do.
okay, so let's start with the side. I'm looking at this plan to the left towards the concrete patio.
Yes,
So there'll be a strip maybe 6 feet wide by the length of the existing house that is now going to be gravel or something. It's underneath the patio. It's not going to get poured with concrete.
correct.
So would it be a big deal, just in terms of looking to remove impervious areas? I know you're under a roof, but you're gonna be punching a bunch of holes in for these sonotubes. Would it really be a big deal to remove that patio, at least just beyond the line of the sonotubes?
Between the existing house out to those sonotubes?
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna cut a bunch of squares in them to get the tubes through. I'm just wondering if we could reduce that.
That certainly could be reduced.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Good point.
Just take that strip of concrete. I mean, ideally, we'd like to see more of it removed and have more grass or lawn, but I guess it's pre-existing. So the roof area of this new house is, so is that's a deck, right? That's not a deck with a
Correct.
roof over it?
It's a deck. Yep,
Okay,
it's an open deck. Roof area in the new house is slightly smaller.
got it. Okay. When I was looking at this, I was thinking that there was some sort of roof that encompassed that, but
That's open deck.
okay. We do have someone with a hand up.
Lisa McDonough.
Can we let the McDonoughs on? Trying.
There you go.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, this is Kevin and Lisa McDonough at 4 Garfield. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So just to clarify a little bit about what we were talking about with the patio and the flagstones, if you look at the plan on that left side that we were talking about, you see the proposed dwelling in the bold lines.
Yes.
And then the existing dwelling has the hash marks as it goes around.
Yes.
All right. So consider that the bold line on the side of the river, left-hand side, out to the hash marks is actually an enclosed porch that is elevated. So the flagstones actually go under the enclosed porch and will abut up to the current foundation of the house, which is going to remain approximately where that bold line is for the new home. So there will be the pilings there, but the flagstone portion already exists. So I understand, Mr. Snow, what you were talking about possibly a 6-foot wide strip by the length of the house. But that actually won't be the case because that 6-foot wide area goes underneath the existing elevated porch right now.
Okay. So that line of the existing house includes something that's on a foundation plus a porch with a roof or something over it?
Correct. That left side line with the hash marks is actually, you want to call them 2x2 concrete piers that hold up that portion of the porch.
Yeah.
But under the other part of it is full foundation.
I see. So what we try to look for, Mr. McDonough, when these project is done is an improvement of the site and hopefully a reduction in impervious areas. And so on the left side of the house is towards the septic system is probably going over a couple of feet and covering an area that's right now pervious.
Well, again, you mean the right side?
On the, well, the side of the new house that's towards the septic system is
Yeah.
about 2 feet closer to the septic system than where the existing house is.
Yes.
So there's an area that's impervious that's now going to wind up with the house over it.
Well, actually,
I guess I'm just like, is there a place on this site that you could reduce the impervious areas?
Okay, to that comment, yes, that side of the house has a concrete walkway that goes out further than the proposed house.
Okay.
You can see it outlined. It's hard to see, but it's there. We would remove that entire strip. Maybe it's 3.5 to 4 feet wide by the length of that side of the house. So yeah, we might lose a foot with the house overhanging what's currently there, but we'll gain 2 to 2.5 feet by the length of the house of impervious area, or pervious area, should I say.
I would add, this is Greg Moore speaking, that to the elimination of the foundation underneath the existing house versus going up on pilings is going to allow more for the free flow of water during any sort of significant flooding
Yeah.
event over
Yeah.
here.
I don't
We're not-
disagree, Greg.
We're
I'm
not,
just,
we're not necessarily concerned with impervious as far as creating an increase of rate or volume of water, as opposed to, in this case here, we're concerned about it deflecting storm runoff to an abutter or something, and that's greatly alleviated by this.
I don't disagree. It's just in this particular home, there's a great deal of patio. This flagstone patio goes right to the edge of the riverfront. Or coastal beach. In fact, it probably goes out on it, but it's been there a long time. So not looking to remove it. We're just looking to see if we could get some additional impervious. I think if there's a walkway or some area that could help with that, then I think would be a good thing. That's all. And I do agree with you, Greg, that certainly having flow through there would help. So I'm happy with that. Anybody else?
Frank, I just wanted to bring up the walls. I mean, if you look at the plan for retaining walls, it is a unique site in that they've like terraced around the main house. So there's like walls around it, but then there's also the wall that was built along the South River.
Yep.
And just, I haven't seen a Chapter 91 license, so it probably wasn't built with permits. So if anything, any work needs to happen to that wall, there should be a condition that just specifies that would be a Chapter 91 filing. And then as far as all the other like low retaining walls that are on the site, I mean, if they're not changing the grades, then I guess the grade, it's a little bit funky, that's all.
Yeah. Well, there's already a retaining wall that between the edge of the house and what drops down to the patio that's along the river. And I'm assuming that that's all going to stay in place because that's a significant grade change.
Right, and if they're not regrading, so it is, though, it's like terraced, if you, like, Rich, have you been out there?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is
So it's a
terraced,
little-
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think I realize what you're saying, and I'm going to imagine that that's been there for a very long time. And, over the years, it's probably been maintained to some degree, but it's,
Yeah, that flagstone goes to a little tiny wall or a step down onto the beach, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And then it's terraced up by the front of the house. Yeah.
okay. That's all I had.
So if we,
So
agree-
I guess, but in looking at, now that I had mentioned the erosion control, but looking at that plan now and where that terrace is, maybe it's not that significant to have that there. If you look at a picture of Jen, I hadn't seen that. Jen Smith was good enough to share a couple of views of the house. And it's just a whole big patio that
Mhm.
nothing's going to really happen on.
right,
Okay, I'd much rather see as much impervious material moved as is feasible. And do agree that by elevating the house and having that wash through. So is that going to be like a crushed stone or wrap or something, Greg, underneath the new house?
I think we would just put crushed stone underneath the new house.
Yeah, you might want to put something a little bit, I don't know how much really overwash runs through that area.
it's not
You don't-
terrible there, usually.
You don't want all that,
It's not like the
Far-
north end of Humrock. It's
Right.
way down the south end.
you
It's
just don't want a
little-
bunch of crushed stone washing out under the,
Right.
Sure.
okay.
Frank, if we close this, do you want to accept the offer that they made to remove that walkway and make
Sure.
that? Yeah, I would think that'd be good, but I think we need to be clear about it.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to close with the condition that the walkway be removed, made pervious.
and I don't mean to sound so nitpicky about this, but we have a situation that was further north that it's gone on for way too long because we weren't clear on what was going to stay and what was going to go. So I don't even know if
Yeah,
that's
well,
still.
so also there's going to be a condition about chapter 91 licensing required for any work on the wall on the South River, which is a
Okay.
separate file.
Yep.
Okay. So, Lisa? Or Joe? Can we unmute them? Sorry.
Gotta mute them. There they go.
I think you're on.
No, there they go.
Hey, hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Nope.
Oh,
Had
Wait a
them,
minute.
lost them.
we'll get this someday. I think you're on.
Okay, so like you said, to be clear and be specific so that there's no confusion, the walkway that is abutting the driveway slash septic system side is the one we're talking about removing
Yes.
to. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, great.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I made it.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Did I get a second?
I'll second. it.
Second,
Yeah, Brendan beat you to it, Jen. All in favor? Penny?
Aye.
And Brendan?
Oh, he seconded it.
He did?
Mhm.
Yes, he beat
Oh,
Jen.
good. Jen, sorry.
I'm
It's not
still
even
gonna
se-
say yes.
It's not even 7 o'clock yet. All right, great. All right. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. Okay. Do we have, we want to do the minutes or go to Toll Brothers?
Yeah, let's do the minutes. Get them out of the way. I make a motion, we accept the minutes of December 6th, December 20th, and January 10th as written.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Brendan. All in favor? Richard
Yes.
and Jen?
Yep.
Frank, yes. Great, thank you. Okay, Toll Brothers, do we have them on?
Yeah, there's Bill Orenberger is on, and also Dave Buckley. So I'm going to unmute them.
Well, what if we just unmute Dave?
You're a wiseacre.
They should both be on.
Okay,
So anyways, Frank, we've asked Toll Brothers here, so we've got our category enforcement.
Mhm.
And as we know, we've been dealing with quite a bit of things on the Seaside at Scituate site relative to the stormwater permit and the SWIP, specifically incidents of severe storms that occurred in June of last year. And Toll Brothers has done a lot of work that we've been, you and I in particular, and the planning board has been involved in the, pretty much oversight and making sure that they've come into substantial compliance with those permits. So this meeting here is just to bring it hopefully to some kind of closure and move forward.
that's a good recap. So we want to hear from Toll Brothers. Thanks, Amy.
Bill Arberger. I'm here with Dave Buckley, the project manager for Seaside at Scituate. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to amplify what Amy said, is since the incident, there's been an enormous amount of work and also collaborative effort with the town, particularly with Amy and Karen Joseph, to remedy any stormwater issues relating to this. And what we'd like to say, as we said in our correspondence, is having had discussions and meetings on site and otherwise, we'd like to offer, we'd like to, close out and terminate this enforcement order and to offer to the commission some offsite mitigation of $30,000, which the commission can use for maintenance of some of the other property that in the town the commission has. Most particularly, it's been brought to our attention that down at the Driftway Park, it's in need of some maintenance. And then, so what we'd like to do is to get the $30,000 to the commission. And then the town can, maybe you can actually leverage that for some type of other grants or some other type of funds from the town to do maintenance and other issues relating to that, or however, otherwise the commission thinks if there's higher priorities and other matters for the town to use for whatever the commission feels is the best use.
Thank you, Bill. It has been quite a bit of discussion with the planning board. As many of you remember, both the planning board and conservation commission worked together on the stormwater portion of Toll Brothers development. And there was unfortunately we've had some really high incidents of rain and whatnot this summer, probably one of the wettest on record, but some of that erosion and sediment got away from the project. And so that's what this is working with. And we've been working in collaboration with the planning board. And we felt that the best thing would be these funds could go to something that would benefit a good part of the town. And we know that the Driftway Park is our most used facility, and that there's always something to do. In particular, the viewing pier needs quite a bit of work, and there just isn't a lot of extra money for that. We're also hoping to go to CPC to do additional work. So to Bill's point, we either use these funds to build up on something greater so that we can put some good effort into that facility. And that's the direction that we'd like to go with this. I think we want to be fairly specific that it's going to go to a project that will benefit a good amount of the folks of the town of Scituate, and something that both is important to both the planning and conservation. So we appreciate the cooperation between Toll and the town in that regard. So thank you. And then there are a few other things though, Bill. I think it's been fortunate that this project's moved along fairly quickly. I'm sure Toll Brothers as well as the town. I'm glad to see that this is moving forward at a pretty good pace, but by the same token, that leads to quite a bit of activity on the site. And we just want to ensure that they understand that things like erosion control, managing runoff and whatnot on the site continues to be a priority for the developer. And then most recently, we talked about sort of dealing with issues at Norwell, I think Norwell Ave, I lose track of the name of it, but at the lower end of the site on the other side of Hadley
Norwell
Road. What's the name of it?
Norwell Terrace.
Norwell Terrace. Most recently, we worked out, I think, an amicable solution to some of the runoff there. It's just would be good to keep everybody in the loop on those sort of things. It's my understanding that the infiltrator that Toll Brothers proposed was constructed, and we appreciate their efforts in trying to come up with a solution, but we want to be sure that those sort of things get documented correctly, and that we just continue to try to work together. This project is a good sized project for a small town, and it does impact our town in many ways. So keeping an eye on those things is paramount to conservation and planning and the rest of the town as well. Anybody want to ask or any comments or anything? Anything else, Bill or Dave?
Oh, and so I think if the commission is ready for a vote, as I think I propose or
Yep.
suggest the vote is to close out and terminate the enforcement order and to accept in consideration to accept the $30,000 to be used as the Conservation Commission deems appropriate.
We'll make you a adjunct member, and that could be a motion. Would anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the $30,000 from the Toll Brothers, and we will definitely use it for something very worthwhile.
I'd say we make the motion based on Mr. Arnberger's. Thing. Okay, so Penny's a motion. We have a second.
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Richard? Hammerock's a long
How
way
about
away.
yes? How about yes? Does that work now?
That would be good. Just takes a while for that voice to come all the way from.
Yeah, it's a long ways, you know?
It is, it is. And Brendan?
Yes.
So kind of the same distance from the west end. Great. Okay. And Frank, yes. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and this will go a long way.
Okay,
So much
and
things.
I'll send a letter just confirming that the funds will be forthcoming as soon as they're processed by bookkeeping. Okay.
Good enough. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, so next up is 33 and 43 Oceanside Drives. Just going next on the enforcement list.
Do we have anybody online for that?
No,
Okay.
it's just, I mean, this kind of enters, this is administrative items. I mean, we did just, you know, we knew that Toll Brothers was on the call, so that's why.
Yep,
we
that's
let-
fine. I just didn't know if
But,
anybody
um,
was, if you had anybody speaking to this.
Not-
Amy, that's all.
No, I don't. I just
Okay.
wanted to update you that, that I did prepare, 2 enforcement orders, and citing them with, you know, bad construction, housekeeping. And I mean, you know, as Frankie went by there last week, the storms pretty much wiped out their erosion controls. And I've asked for them to be restored with no response. So I think that, you know, you've probably got to take some action here.
I think, does this enforcement order, is this the first step towards a fine, Amy, or can we just start a fine for this?
No, we
I
can
mean,
start a fine.
Okay.
Please do.
The fine, yeah, you can talk about what kind of a fine you think is appropriate to give me some guidance, because I think you have quite a bit of leeway here on, I mean, like I counted like 5 different items in the orders that could be pegged, especially on 43 Oceanside, and 33, you know, is pretty much all built out. So it's really just that erosion control along the perimeter of the 2 streets primarily. But in that site also, we hold with DEP because there's superseding orders on that as well. But there, you know, it's all washed out. And 43, which is actively under construction, is not complying with the permit at all. And so considering the fact that this is a repeat offender, I mean, and you've had success with penalizing this person before when they tore down the house on 43 without a permit. But I mean, I think that if we're talking about a fine and penalty amount, it shouldn't be egregious, clearly, but enough to get his attention.
Can it be per offense per day?
Can I ask a question,
Yes,
Richard? I
it
don't
can
want
be.
to jump
That's all right.
over
Go for
your
it.
thing. Amy, what if the town stepped in? I mean, this is an issue that's ongoing. They're not addressing it. Do we have the ability to hire someone to put that in and then recuperate that money from the?
I don't believe so. I've never heard of that happening like that, Frank.
Well, I mean, if
I
there
mean,
was,
unless there's some authority under our MS4 permit, now that we are all obligated to comply with MS4. So I can ask PW, but I don't think so.
I mean, I guess, and I don't mean to cut everybody, I'd want to hear opinions from everybody, but Amy and I have been discussing this and looking at it. And, you know, if we had this person on the line or had been reached out back to Amy and said, I'll take care of this right away, but that's not what we're getting. And, you know, I know that they want something different there, but until that issue is resolved, it's their responsibility to maintain those edges. And they could say, well, the reason that these things are messed up is because you won't let us finish the project. But the reality is that we're just not there with what has to happen in that location. They want to have something that we don't feel is permittable or conditionable. And we want to get that resolved. And in the meantime, they have a project that's moving forward, and it's their responsibility to maintain that, just as it was for Toll Brothers to maintain their sites. And the contribution that Toll Brothers just made was significant, and these guys are bordering on the same kind of issues. And I don't think it's something that we should just brush off. It's frustrating to see this just languish there, and especially with the abutters around it. You know, we have too many places where people come in and try to do the right thing, and then we have people that don't. And I think folks that do try to play by the rules are also frustrated when they see these things just neglected and abused. And we have other sites in town where people have gone ahead and done projects, and I think we're going to continue to pursue those. It just isn't fair that people try their best to comply, and then we have others that just do as they want. So that's my speech from the podium. But Richard, sorry.
Well, what I think we are, I don't know what guidance we have in terms of what we could in terms of money charge or elicit as a fine, but I would think it could be per offense per day, whatever the amount is, not just one to cover the whole thing. And whatever the maximum amount is, I think we just have to go after it. We're gonna have trouble getting it anyway. I think that's the reality, but I think we have to make a solid statement.
Okay. Penny?
Yeah, enough is enough. This has been going on for way too long, and it's about time we find them. Go get them.
Jen?
Agreed.
Brendan?
Yeah, I agree as well. I'm you know, repeat offenders. That's not good. I mean, it's just, for me, I just find them and keep finding them.
Okay.
But
So Amy, I don't know, maybe, do we have any like history of a couple of things like that we could look back on so that we're consistent in what we're charging this? So
Well, yeah, I mean, our bylaws fine per day. It's per incident per day. So we can, that's how I came up with the fine before. So use the same method to try to calculate something, and I'll let you know what it is and or out.
All right. Well, I think you got the message that the commission.
Yeah, I have.
Start counting. Frank,
What's that?
when do we start counting? Wednesday 1?
I think it's already gone by.
That's what I'm asking. How many days are we gonna be looking for at this point? A year?
I don't know if it's a year, but it's certainly been going on since the fall.
It's
Okay. Let's let Amy see if she can come up with some things, and you can try to backpedal a little bit on when we think that should start. Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Okay, so then the next one up is 7 Dunbar. Greg Kelleher. So on that one, you know, we have it, it's an open of intent, yet it's really enforced. So we're really seeing the notice of intent until they show some kind of compliance with enforcement. And you gave them direction at previous meeting, you know, like we got to start with finding out what was filled, you know, maybe start with the overlay of the A&R plan that showed the wetland area from, you know, whatever, when that was done in
10 years ago.
2014 or whatever that date was, onto the current plan, or as Art Allen was suggesting that, you know, you need to do some kind of a soil assessment so you can see where the fill is. But I mean, we've got clear, I mean, I think it's in everyone's interested to keep this moving, to see just what they have, you know, there's been no response from them at all. So just see what's filled and what their stance is on that. But I mean, there's a lot of unpermitted work there in Phil. So I think we left it that there would be an on-site between the commission and the wetland scientist for the owner. And that has yet to be scheduled, but also we're in the end of January now. So it wouldn't be actually surprise me if this goes on a little bit until the spring, especially because that's going to be when it's going to be conducive to doing those auger borings that you do with those, you know, the T augers, unless I'd be doing it with a backhoe. But yeah, so I guess my question is it necessary to give them an official enforcement order? Or do you think that we, you know, it was clear enough to them, and like what's going to force them to do anything other than the fact that we've got it now continued to March 7th? You know what I mean? But we're still at March 7th. We're not going to be in a position to talk about the notice of intent, because the direction is that we're staying your notice until we determine the status of the filled area.
So it seems to me like we definitely want to issue an enforcement order. I'm not sure. We have someone that's in with an application, like to your point, there's someone in with an application to do a project, so they sort of could all come together. But I definitely think an enforcement order, especially with this material that you and Art have indicated is there, and the sooner we get to it, I do understand what you're saying, the logistics of frozen ground, and try to do the borings and determine the extent of the filling. And if we don't feel that they're moving on it fast enough, then maybe there should be some understanding that if something doesn't happen by a certain period of time, then we will start fining. And then that way there's a line drawn in the sand.
Yeah,
About,
I mean, I feel like maybe April 15th or something like that is not unreasonable to give as a deadline to perform the assessment, given the winter. I mean, sooner would be great, but it is hard to do those types of assessment in the frozen ground.
right. But I think, Amy, if we don't set a deadline and say, listen, if you don't start moving, we need some dialogue, we need to know what your plan is, and we want to set a date, you know, with our
Totally agree.
end of
Yeah.
March or whatever, and say, here, this is when we need to start this. And if it doesn't start by then we'll start the fines.
Right, so we've continued them to March 7th. And by them asking for the continuance to March 7th says to me that they're still trying to get it together and figure out what the game plan is.
Mhm.
On March 7th, we'll, we can have that enforcement out by then. And we'll just, at that point, communicate the deadlines and also, I don't really think that it's going to deserve a spot on the agenda other than on just sitting on enforcement as a notice of intent, because the notice of intent is state. And every time something's put on there, it's taking the spot of another hearing that could go in, you know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So
But
it could be-
again, the other part of it is that we do have abutters that are frustrated with this and that
Right.
they're gonna wanna know that this is being addressed as it should be.
Right, so they can see that through the meeting or just call for a status on what's going on. But I mean,
Right.
it's just the notice of intent for the project that they had proposed is on, I don't know, I guess permanent stay until we figure out the extent of the filling that was done, which appears to be fairly expensive and unpermitted work. And so we need to see them cooperate and get us a date so we can go out there and take a look at it.
Okay.
Yep.
It looks like we have a hand up. I'm assuming it's from a neighbor there.
Right, so this isn't really a discussion time. It wasn't what you want to do here.
If we want to answer a simple question, I don't want to, we're not going to get into a lengthy discussion, but if we can answer something simple.
Oh, looks like the hand's gone.
Okay. All right. Orders and conditions?
Yeah, Amy, are those standings the ones that I've read? Are they still
So
standing? 135,
Orders for 135R Glades and for
Yeah.
33 Oceanside
yeah,
were sent out
okay,
last week for your review and comment, which there was some comment. And so now that's just discussion among the members and vote.
well, I'm ready to vote. I don't know if anyone else is. Any discussion out there?
I'm good to vote.
I don't have it. So.
All right,
Richard-
I'm gonna make a motion. I make a
I'm
Well,
good to
motion.
vote.
Let me just, anybody, Richard?
I'm good to vote.
Okay. And Brendan?
I'm good to vote.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the orders of condition for 135R Glades Road as written.
Okay, that's Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Richard,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Okay, and I make a motion that we accept the orders for 33 Oceanside as written.
Second.
And that's Richard with a second. So all in favor, Jen?
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, I see Mr. McCarron has his hand up, but I mean, if he has a question, but we're not debating anything this evening.
Okay, so do you want me to unmute him?
Yes, please.
Hello, Peter McCarron, 135R Glades.
Hey, Hi, Mr. McCarron.
Hi, just a quick question, really, not certainly nothing to debate. Paul Marabito flagged two things, Mr. Chairman. And I just didn't know if those were incorporated in the conditions that you just approved, or if those were not incorporated in the conditions you approved.
He flagged them?
Yeah, he wrote to you on Friday, and Amy and Jen. One of them was, I think the condition cited the wrong site plan. There was an updated site plan provided on the 21st of December. And then the other issue was relative to the proposed landscape wall that Doug Aberg had referenced an improvement with the sheet flow under the house.
So, Amy, do we have the plan that we are conditioning, is it the revised plan or the plan that was original?
No, it's the original plan.
And there is a reason we wouldn't use the more recent one?
Because the recent one shows a wall.
And plus, we had closed it already, Frank.
True.
when
So,
that
Mr. Mc-
met.
Karen, after we close a hearing, you can't take any additional information. If there's a piece that you disagree with, your options are, you can either appeal the commission's decision, or you can come up with an alternative plan and request an amendment to the orders.
Okay.
So if there's a piece on the plan that you disagree with, you should discuss it with Paul. You should decide whether you want to appeal the commission's decision, or as I say, maybe you come up with an alternative that you think that will work, and you can request what they call an amendment to the orders.
Is that, I'm sorry, just another procedure question. Is that through another notice of intent? after we get-
No, you once you have an open set of orders, if there's obviously things that can change on a site, or things come to the attention, you could file another set of orders, but you don't need to. You could request an amendment to the order. So if you felt you had some better solution, you can request amending the orders. Now that gets advertised so the abutters are aware that things might be changing, and then the commission discusses that, similar to part of your hearing.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And then that could be at any point, right? That could be 6 months from now, 2 months from now.
Yeah, I think unless it's, something that's detrimental to what you're doing, but that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? What do we?
We have Appleton commercial farming lease up.
Yeah, I've been promising Andy would move
Well,
forward.
so I have an update on that, and so I sent it to the town administrator and discussed it with him. He did have a few comments and gave me authorization to be in communication with town council. So I'm working with town council on that agreement. And I've asked if it could be bumped up in our list, but I haven't heard a finding that I can communicate on approval. But at least it's in action. And one of the other questions the TA had was, once we get the lease reviewed by town council, whether or not it will need to go back to the select board, and it would appear that it would.
Frank,
Yes, Penny,
it's supposed to be a license. Remember, it's not a lease.
that's correct.
You cannot.
I'm sure Cindy wouldn't let us do that.
Okay, it's just,
Yeah, you're right.
I,
I remember that.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Any idea when we might hear back from town council, Amy?
We're working on it, or she's working on it, so hopefully
Great.
the next meeting I'll have an update for you.
Awesome. It seems like it's a long way off, but if they're gonna plan for this, they probably need to get going sooner than later, so, great. Okay. What else?
Signing of the documents.
Geez, it's amazing without Andy and Doug asking a whole bunch of questions, how quickly we move through this meeting.
Oh, you say that about everybody when they're not there.
All right.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, that was Penny.
I second that emotion.
Ooh. That was Brendan. All in favor? Richard?
He's talking, but we can't
I
hear
think
him.
he said yes, if I could read his lips.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I think he said he wanted to stay on for another half hour.
No, he can stay on by himself.
All right.
No, I'm not staying on by myself. I keep hitting the wrong button here. What I said, yes, but are we supposed to come over and sign more documents?
That would be a
Absolutely.
big yes, with a, with a,
Absolutely.
with a big YES.
Don't worry, you don't have to come over tonight, but tomorrow or
No,
something.
tomorrow's my day. I always come over on Tuesday, so
All right.
Yeah, the folder's on the table.
you got it.
And who did I forget?
Jen.
Jen, sorry.
Me.
How can you leave
Yes.
her out?
I know.
Dang. I didn't. I just said, all right.
Good night.
Good night,
I
guys.
guess. Good night. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Have a nice
Night.
evening.